dreams that came true, okay? Now, the topic today is all that glitters isn't gold. I'll just say it again so you can like keep it in your mind. All that glitters isn't gold. But the next part of that I'd like to say is that a dreamer's journey ain't easy. Okay? Is it okay if I say it like that? When I think about my life, when I think about the things that I've gone through, and I think about my dream, and I think about where I am today, it reminds me of preparing a very good meal. Like today, we had an opportunity to share dinner with the chef of Beef Fork Valley, okay? And I must say that that meal was prepared very nicely, and it was absolutely beautiful when it was done. But we know that when you're preparing a meal, the kitchen might get a little dirty, right? You might have to do some things that you might not really feel like doing, like chopping up some onions and some garlic and all that good stuff. And you may have all kinds of things going on in that kitchen in order to make that meal look beautiful. We may see the finished product of the meal, but we don't necessarily get a chance to experience the preparation. And I feel that that's why tonight's title, All That Glitters Isn't Gold, is so wonderful, and it's so important for you all to understand the reality of success. And when I think, you can clap to that if you like to. Because for me, I never want to be able to give any unrealistic expectations or understanding about success. And when I think about my life, I think about Joseph in the Bible. We all know about Joseph, right? We all know about Joseph, right? And what was interesting to me about Joseph is that Joseph was a young man, one of the youngest, and he was working in the field, serving his family, and he had a dream, okay? As a young man, Joseph had a dream. And what's so interesting about what the Bible says about him having a dream is that had a dream means to bind firmly. So in a way, you could say that Joseph had a dream, but at the same time, you could also say that Joseph's dream had him. And what was so interesting about this dream is that when he began to tell people about the dream that he had, and it just so happened to be the people that was closest to him, he said to them that he had a dream while they were, gathering shades, that his shade was over top of his brother's shade, and that they were all bowing down to him. And they couldn't believe it. They mocked him, they laughed at him, and they basically was like, who do you think you are, trying to come and tell us that we're going to be bowing down and worshiping you? And what was so interesting about the shade is that it was basically how people made money during that time. The shade was like your corn or your grain in the field, and that represented prosperity in some way, right? So in other words, they were like, so you're saying that you're going to be more prosperous than us. But it wasn't Joseph that was saying that. You follow me? All he was saying was that he had this dream that came from God. He wasn't trying to say that I feel like I'm going to be better than you and you're going to have to, be less than me. He was just simply, honestly sharing his dream, okay? And what was so interesting is that after they mocked him and they dogged him out and hated on his dream, the Bible says that he yet dreamed another dream. And what was so interesting about that dream was that the next dream was greater than the first dream. Not only were the shade bowing down, but now he said that the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to him. So he kept dreaming, right? Now, his brothers started hating on him even more. How many of you may have had a dream in your heart and may have shared your dream with somebody, and they came and they mocked you and they hated on you because of that dream? Now, people can be vicious because in the Bible it talks about how he was hated on in such a way that they envied him. They were jealous. They had this deep-rooted jealousy and envy. And what's so crazy about envy is that they felt like they should have what he had. And mind you, he only shared his dream. He hadn't even received the manifestation of the dream, and they were envious of him. And they were so envious that one day they saw him coming and said, "Look at the little dreamer coming." And they mocked him. And then it even talks about how they began to come together and come up with a plan to basically stop his dream from happening. So they conspired against him. And I gotta tell you, when we have dreams, it may not necessarily be like Joseph and his brothers conspiring. We may have other ways that the forces out there are conspiring against us with our dream. And I have a story that I feel is parallel to Joseph. Because as a young girl in Camden, New Jersey, how many of you have heard of Camden, New Jersey? And you know that they might try to say that nothing good comes out of Camden, but I can say the devil is a lie. But coming from Camden, growing up by a single parent who definitely had some trials and some experiences as a young woman. My mother was 15 years old when she had my sister and I am a twin, for some of you that may not know that I am a twin. And my mom, imagine, 15 years old, giving birth to twin girls. No father, not a lot of money, thank God, for the family that we had supporting us. But my mother, as a young woman, she had a lot of trials and a lot of tribulation, as I'm sure some of you may have experienced as adults or may be experiencing as young people with your parents. But as a young woman, my mother, she had an addiction as a young woman, which created a crazy environment for us growing up. But I must say, as I share this testimony, that my mother is over 20 years clean today. But during that time, that addiction, I felt, was conspiring against my dream, okay? Because growing up in that single household, living under those circumstances, it created some crazy stuff for me, which caused me to end up having trouble in school, having my own trial with drugs, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to be very honest and very transparent, because as this word today is all that glitters is in gold, I think it's important for you to know my testimony and for you to know the things that I've overcome in life, so that no matter what it is you experience, you know that God has created you for something great. And no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what it is you're dealing with, if you have a dream just like the dream had Joseph, your dream has you, and God is not going to disappoint you at all. You guys know that? And I'm not just trying to, be preachy to you, but I have to be honest about how it happened for me. So I dealt with drugs. I dropped out of school. I ended up going from school to the strip club, to drugs, to selling drugs, to doing all kinds of things as a young girl. And you know that dealing with a lot of that stuff as a young girl can create a lot of soul damage, a lot of insecurities, a lot of fears, a lot of turmoil, a lot of trouble in life. And I tell you something, I experienced just about all of it. But what was interesting, in the midst of what I was going through, all the abuse and all the turmoil, I had a dream. As a little girl, I had a dream. I saw me as an actor. I would see myself in Hollywood on television shows and in movies. And I got to tell you, like Joseph, I would go tell some of my friends, guess what? One day, I am going to be on television. One day, I am going to be in movies. And let me tell you something.